Recently joining the core team as initiator of what will come Symfony AI. I won't spoil anything about Chris is going to speak about, so please do a warm welcome to Chris.
Yeah, good morning. This is really exciting. So I hope we're gonna have fun for the next 35 minutes, maybe 40. Make sure to, if you have questions, and don't keep in the time box. So don't keep the time box. I'm around later as well. So this is I've been waiting for this quite a while because we've been working for 2 years maybe about this thing, and I realize that some people of you might get a bit bored or numb with AI. So who's honest, like who's a bit tired of AI right now? Yeah, I figured. That's fair, and it's same for me a bit. But the good thing is we don't have to discuss like what's going to be the transformation over the next 5 years, or are we going to lose our jobs? We don't have to discuss that today. Today we're just gonna see how features in Symfony can be using AI. So we're getting more to the real stuff and hands-on what we can do with it. So it's not hypothetical, it's more about actual features, right? So at least it's hands-on, right? And briefly about me, I'm Christopher, I live in Berlin, and I'm also not like the original machine learning guy from the 90s. I'm more the PHP and Symfony guy that got addicted to Gen AI like around 3 years ago. And I'm working more in a tech management role, so I do this Symfony AI thing basically at night. And yeah. If you want to follow oh, did I publish? Well, let's see. If you want to follow the slides, you can scan this QR code and it might work. Fast feedback? Does it work? Awesome, thanks. All right, let's start off with what is the initiative, Symfony AI. So we started and published, at least we published the initiative in July 2025. I think we wrote about it in March, around March, that we're gonna do it, or that we want to do it, and we decided to go in a different repository. So it's not part of Symfony, it's Symfony/AI. So a separate repository because we're still figuring out how we want to build this, right? So there's a lot of conformance and guidance or guidelines on the Symfony repository, like you know about the time-based release schedule, for example. And for now, we didn't even tag the Symfony AI repository, so there's not a single tag today because we're breaking the interfaces all the time. So we will eventually stop with that and put a tag on it in the next few days maybe. And we will have separate versioning. So we won't start with Symfony AI 8.0. We will start off similar to the UX initiative with a separate release cadence, but we will stick to the Symfony standards when it comes to BC promises, for example. In the beginning, this will be experimental. Definitely, it is, right? The idea of it is to enable AI, native, AI-infused, however you want to tell it, like AI features in the Symfony application. So you don't have to delegate to like a different programming language. I know there are like Python and TypeScript around where you can easily also build AI-based features, but basically there's little reason not to do that in Symfony or in PHP. And we don't want to focus only on LLMs. We're basically integrating with all kind of models. We're gonna see it in a minute. And the idea is to have separate PHP components, also like a component architecture that you can integrate with even if you're not using the Symfony full stack framework. Meaning that also if you are basically in a stack that is not using an AI bundle or the framework kernel, you still can use like a platform component or an agent component, right? We're still using Symfony components within it, like the serializer, for example, but we're not, it's not mandatory to use the same the entire framework. And one important part for us is that we want to be vendor agnostic. So right now there are like dozens of, like for example, vector store startups. So we don't want to commit to a single startup there or to like only focus on OpenAI. We want to have a layer that makes it possible to switch between the different vendors. Just about stats, right now it's 775, maybe 77, right? I'm gonna pause here until we reach 2,000. Right now it's already about 73 contributors, so that's something that I won't pause for now. We have around 2,000 commits, and if we are done with splitting, it's already 71 packages. That's a bit nuts, right? It's due to the fact that there are so many different vendors to integrate with. So maybe we are the first Symfony project that will, like, in the first years, remove components in a higher number than we've seen in the last 20 years or something. I don't know, because we don't know if those vendors will still be around in a year from now. This is the high-level component architecture. So there's the chat component actually missing, but you can see we have on top we have the bundle integration. So that's optional, right? The main part for vendor agnostic is down in the foundation components. So you have the platform component that makes sure that you can switch between OpenAI, Google Gemini, or Anthropic. We have a store component that has an abstraction for Pinecone or MongoDB or Redis. And we have close to a dozen of tools that integrate with Wikipedia or YouTube or other third-party services. So it's already 50 integrations. So that's some layer that multiplies like horizontally fast. And on top of those foundational components, we have the agent component. This is basically where it really gets interesting. So the lower part, if you're fine with a HTTP client, you're actually fine to go. Like if you wanna skip the vendor agnostic part, like you can easily do just curl, right? All right, platform. Let's briefly go through the platform. So it's an abstraction layer, like I said. It's a central interface for inference. Inference meaning invoking models. So that's also the layer where we have the different bridges to OpenAI, to Vertex, to AWS, Bedrock, etc. And it's multimodal compatible. Means we don't only care about text. You can basically also hand over images or audio files. And there is an event system integrated, so you can hook into that system and do some kind of manipulation, maybe, if you want. This is basically a high-level sketch. Not that interesting, right? It's very, very simple. We have input, it could be anything. With output, it could be anything. That is Andre's nightmare, I guess, right? You can throw in anything and you can get out of it anything, so you cannot, the PHP stand is not really helpful, but you have an intent, right? We have some helpers in place so that you can also have some kind of type declaration safety, but yeah. We have various platform integrated already, even if it's Hugging Face or Replicate or Open Router, Light LLM, all that stuff. And for the models, it's also like crazy, right? In the beginning, I had a slide where I name-dropped all kind of models, but that doesn't, like, it's hard to keep up with that, right? Every week, there's actually a composer nowadays, right? So I think that's what Cursor released. So, but it's not limited to LLMs. Model inference, let's see some code. Model inference, in this case, we have OpenAI, we have a message back that is basically the conversation that you might know from ChatGPT, right? So you have messages with different roles, and you can just invoke the platform and get it as text. So that's super easy, right? We have some kind of DTO layer, the data layer that you can then throw in. We take care on serializing it the right way, depending on the platform that you use. Right? Right? So if it's Llama, it's a bit more ugly, and if it's OpenAI, it's basically changing. But yeah. So this is how it looks for OpenAI, for example. This is how the code looks for Claude. Right? So the infrastructure only doesn't work. So you can see that there is the model name and there's the platform, but everything else of the setup is basically the same, right? And it's the same for Gemini. Same for Mistral. I guess you get it, right? That's quite simple. You can do streaming. And you don't have to care about the server-sent events here. You can just iterate over the result. That's super handy. If you want to do audio, you just throw it in as a file. We take care of making a data URL out of it. If it's binary file, you can also use image URLs if it's something that is basically on a CDN or from the World Wide Web, right? PDF. Super smooth and simple just to get started there, right? That's the idea. And that's one of my favorite features. That's also a best practice. If you look into this, LLMs can not only generate that text that you want, but they can also generate structures. So in this case, if you hand over a class, from the serializer, for example, you will, instead of a text blob, you will get an instance of that object populated with data from that LLM. Meaning you can easily do data extraction from some kind of unstructured data, and you will hand over a data structure that you want to have populated, and you will receive the entire instance with data. Super easy, right? It's a great feature. That's actually how it looked like. And it's powered by JSON schema, so you can even fine-tune how the data structure with some enums or some min-max ranges, and you will get some maybe GPT complies to it, right? Maybe. Let's see. I said not only LLMs, embeddings, the little siblings of LLMs, super easy. In this case, you will get a vector as response. Hugging Face. Hugging Face basically is the packagist of that entire AI ecosystem, I'd say. So this is like an object detection model. You will see it in action in a minute. So you can just use the Hugging Face bridge and any model that is available for inference there. So that's hundreds of them. And that's integrating with the Hub API. But you can guess you need an API token basically for all of those integrations. I guess Gemini is the most easy to start if you have a Google account. Or if you want to go local, you can go with Ollama. So platform bridge, it's 25 right now. I don't want to go through the logos. AI bundle, next up. Integration in your Symfony ecosystem, right? So you can just go with Composer require AI. Yeah, that's a bit bold, right? But it's nice. So configuration in YAML, as you know it, super straightforward. You define the configuration of the platform. The key indicates which vendor you want, and then there is a separate set of keywords below that. So in this case, you only need API key coming from the environment. There you go. Second one is agent. Oh, we didn't talk about agent yet. So let's see, agent. Agent component is designed for multi-step interaction with a model. So right now, the sketch before was super easy. Just one call and you get a response. For the agent component, we combine a lot of stuff together. So it's a platform, it's a model, it's a collection of messages and prompts that you define as a context. Like context engineering, that new thing on LinkedIn where you can get like 6 figures if you have 5 years of experience, I guess. So memory, tools, and all that stuff, tool calling. We're gonna go there in a minute. It's really, really important topic. So if structured output is a cool feature, tool calling is even more a cool feature. For agent component, we have various architectures. But the most important thing, it's not like this anymore. We can go like this. So if you've been to the MCP talk of Tobias yesterday, it was about delegating tool calls to different systems, right? With the agent component, you can do the entire agent work in the Symfony stack that you're currently in. So you can leverage the entire infrastructure that you have already in place. If it's doctrine, if it's like the security component, you just have it at hand, right? So that's super nice. Tool calling itself, like what's going on there? Right? Tool calling itself, it's like your app provides functionality to the language model. GPT doesn't execute your P code. No, it doesn't. That's the agent component handling that. Well, actually, let's see it in action, right? That's how the talk is called. So I'm gonna add this. Oh, it's small, right? So red in your face, yes. Like this. So you can see that there's an API call going on, right? What time is it? Doesn't work, right? So like GPT-3 would have said, well, it's 15:03. Sounds like a reasonable answer, is basically not true. Let's see. Let's just build a new class. Call it clock. I'm gonna remove that, sorry. So we have a construct where we have the clock interface. Let's take this one. All right. And the important part that we have to do here, we have to do an attribute. Oh, that looked good. Like this. And we have to define that the method is now. Right? That's super straightforward. We return, no, let's return a string. Yeah. It's the wrong time zone, but that's great, right? So in the end, it's a bit of ping pong. So you define a tool, you expose it to the API. The API comes back with a result that it wants to invoke the tool. The agent component takes care of that for you, invokes the service that you just defined and marked with an attribute, and then the tool result is handed over to GPT again. That's super handy, right? And super powerful. You can build, expose your entire doctrine repository. Don't, but you could, right? Yeah, that's what I showed, right? And the important part, you can also write. You can add some arguments there. And like a language model would hand over data. Especially if you do data extraction and you want to create some entities basically from Wikipedia. Like, don't mess with the Wikipedia API too much, but yes. So we have a lot of bridges there as well. And yeah, that's basically it from agentic point of view. So this is how you can transform with a simple agent setup. But we also have multi-agent architectures. It's always about the level of autonomy that you want to create in your architecture. Like how much control do you delegate to it, or how much control do you want to have in a static fixture or sequence. So a lot of that is up to you when you do the design decisions. And we have two features right now. One is to define an agent as a tool. So you saw a tool, but it could not only be like something that is as simple as rendering now, but also be a different agent. So you can encapsulate agents. That makes a whole lot of sense if you don't want to waste too much context on something and just want to have smaller items that are executed by an agent. And you can do orchestration with handoffs. I guess we have an example. So that's agent as a tool. But the funny part is this. So you define different agents with a configuration. You always configure which model, which tool, which system prompt. And then you can define an orchestrator that thinks of like, okay, the request that's coming in, that is more about those topics like bug, error, code, debug. So I will delegate to this specific agent. That's a handoff, right? Super powerful. RAG, gosh, the next buzzword. Vector stores, I said before, we have an integration already, so that's super simple to set up. The store component is an abstraction itself, has some kind of lifecycle management right now, so you can create and set up a store, you can add documents to it and query for it. And then we have a very powerful feature that is called indexer, where you can hand in a resource, a source, it gets loaded, for example, the RSS feed of the Symfony block. Then we load that, transform it, split it in different documents, and vectorize it and store it to the vector store. And then we can do retrieval augmented generation on the Symfony block. Looks like I want to see that in action. Yeah? All right. So this is actually the Symfony AI demo. So if you go to GitHub, you will find exactly this project where you can play around with all kind of demos. Let's see. I don't know when I did the last indexing, but latest release Symfony. That's going to be tricky. I guess I need to do another indexing since we had a major release yesterday. Oh, yes. So in this case, I just do the indexing, right, from the RSS feed. Now we have multiple embedding calls in parallel, so that speeds up the process, of course, right? And then we can maybe ask again. Oh, wow. It worked. Of course, you can use the component standalone, but also we care about the integration into Symfony. So in this case, you can look it up in the profiler already. So you can see what kind of system prompt did you use. Well, you should know, but you can still look it up, right? But the most important thing is that you can look up what was going on. So in this case, we can see there was a tool call, latest release of Symfony. The similarity search is a tool that is built in, so you can just use it on top of the vector stores that you configured. Right? And you can see down here what kind of tools we have configured in the system, and then actually also what is the response that was given then to the model. Right? So you can jump into the agent workflow that is going on, and that it's really, we have it because it's really useful, right? So it's something that we built early on. Okay, what else can we do? Let's see structured output in action, right? Structured output where we not generate text, but a structured object. And this is about cooking recipes. It's hard to come up with meaningful examples sometimes. I'd like something with banana. So in this case, it's GPT generating a data object that we then use as a view object in Twig, right? And it's super easy. and let's say, okay, it's 60 minutes, it's beginner difficulty, it's vegetarian, okay, let's add some meat. No, it doesn't make sense, but still. You get the point, right? So you can use that data again and iterate over it, and then now we have, oh gosh. It's still like it's still possible to create slop, right? Another example that we have, we can do like some basic chatting on YouTube videos, right? This is now fetching the transcript of that. Oh, that was fast. The transcript of the video, and do question answering on top of that video. Well, that's sometimes useful, right? If you want to index an entire channel or something, and you want to find some information to just index an entire channel. By the way, this is type.js for the animation stuff. So building it with Turbo was too difficult for me, but luckily someone stepped up and said, well, okay, we can do that with the Turbo stream, and we can use server-send events as well. So this is actually streaming on a HTTP level as well with Symfony X. Let's see if this works. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
So this is actually a combination of different models. It's speech to text, then language model answering to it, and then we do text to speech again. But in the demo, it's a combination with a sub-agent. So we have a front-runner model that can do quick, easy conversational stuff, but if it gets more complex, like, what do you know about the schedule of SymfonyCon? It delegates, it takes longer, and it delegates to a different agent that is then capable of doing like retrieval augmented generation.
I couldn't find the specific schedule for SymfonyCon. I recommend checking the official Symfony website or the SymfonyCon event page for the latest details. If you have a specific year or location in mind, let me know.
So I guess it's important to be excited on failure. So I'm sorry for that. So this is a live demo, obviously, right? What else do we have?
I couldn't find the specific schedule for SymfonyCon.
Rub it in, yeah. So it's not only about building chats, right? It's basically, I'm getting tired of all those chat demos. What else you can do is something like smart image cropping. If you have the case maybe that you need to do some cropping and you want to have squares, you don't want to always have the square in the middle, but you want to have something that is basically meaningful in context of the image, right? Thanks for that, but it's the only picture where it actually works because it's too much math for me, right? All right, we need to get back to the slides. So about roadmap. I said we will have a tagged release soonish. It will be a 0 point something, of course. We will focus on stabilizing what we have right now. Feature depth will come with adoption. So we will only, for now, go into the shallow interfaces that we have on extension points, and it's also the feedback loop with you while using it, where we need to go deeper with support of functionality. And we're also looking into collaborations. So we're in contact with Drupal AI, for example, or with Type 3, and even we had a call with people from WordPress. And for the high-level things, I would like to go more with multi-agent architectures. Like Fabien mentioned the workflow component yesterday. That's really interesting. I think agent tracing and benchmarking is something that we will also need to do. Some kind of benchmarking, meaning like compare it to do some evaluations, right? We will have more bridges, of course. And I'd like to see an MCP integration into the agent, so the agent in Symfony being an MCP client, working with all kind of tools, like so you could leverage some Python or TypeScript implementations in your PHP Symfony agent, right? And what's really interesting as well, maybe not A2A, but AGUI, like generative UI, where you don't only get text or structures, but basically UI elements. I don't know if that makes too much sense, but I want to play around with it. And of course, there's a project going on right now called ORT. That's a PHP extension. And this is high-performance tensor mathematics. That's what I read in the README. And it's even with CPU, GPU, not GPT, GPU support, and brings Onyx compatibility into PHP via C. And this is super powerful if you want to do model inference natively in PHP. So that means that you don't have to rely on HTTP calls, but you can do like smaller models in PHP directly. And this is active in development by Joe Watkins and supported by the PHP Foundation. I don't know about the release schedule there or the timings, but I'm really looking forward to it and the integrating with it. All right, but that's my plans. I don't know what you're up to. I definitely invite you to bring your ideas and features, right? It's more interesting for me to discuss about features than we, like, what kind of different bridge we would now need. That's totally welcome as well. But I'm really keen to learn what your real world use cases are. We have already about over 70 contributors. And you can see next to my face over there is Oscar. So Oscar was with me on that project for, I guess, 18 months now. Thanks for that. So there was a huge support. So it's not me only here on stage presenting, it was also Oscar's work here. And 70 people as well. All right, so join the initiative, check out the repository. Especially the examples and the demo folders are a great place to start. And build your first feature. Just play around, bring it to the system that you have already. Maybe it's Symfony web stack and you can just install the bundle or you integrate with the components. Just give it a try. We're gonna be there tomorrow morning. When does it start? At 9, I guess, at the hackathon. And yeah, see you on GitHub, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Chris. Do you have any question about Symfony AI, about the Chris presentation? Yeah, I see the first one here.
Hi. I was just wondering if, you mentioned that you want to be vendor agnostic and that you have a lot of vendors and packages already in there supporting it. Have you ever thought of doing it like Notifier does with extensible packages for AI? So like Symfony AWS Notifier?
It's basically like that, yeah, exactly. So it's Notifier and Mailer was basically the example that we looked at. So it's going to be bridges as separate packages. We are still in the process of breaking them out because we started in one repository basically. Oh, it's going to stay in one repository. We started in one package. So before we going to tag, we will split into those 70-something packages, and then you can install like Symfony AI Wikipedia tool, for example, to just have that or just the OpenAI bridge. So, yeah.
Any other question? Oscar, don't you have any question?
I'll be around anyways.
Yeah.
If
Diego here. Yeah.
Hello. How does the system know what tools to call? When when you made the example of calling the now tool, how does the AI knows which tool to call?
So luckily we have, we're sitting on top of the Symfony infrastructure there, and we are using the container. So the attribute brings it to the container, and then we can pass via reflection and the doc type what is actually this tool. And then that's converted into JSON schema and attached to the payload that we send to GPT or Gemini. So in that case, we can basically, if you comply to reasonable standards in PHP, we can understand and create JSON schema out of it. Yeah, that's the point.
Okay, thank you. A following question: can you call more tools after the API call to the AI? If I want to do more stuff after calling the AI, like sending an email, but I want the AI to decide if I should send the email or not.
So it comes a bit into how you do the design of the agentic workflow. So if you want to dispatch it on your own, you could do it after a specific tool was called. So there is an event system how you can interact. Like if a tool call was done, you can say, okay, this was so important that I dispatch an email. Or you can create a tool that is sending the email and you make it part of the system prompt. Well, then you're more feeling lucky, right? So in that case, the email might go out, right? So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I see a question here in front.
Yeah. Good morning. Small question. You work with ChatGPT, with OpenAI. Did you try to work with local models also? LLM models, I mean.
Come again, please.
Did you try to work with local LLM models?
Yes, so we have an integration with Llama. So that works. I think that's the most stable one, right?
Llama, Docker Model Runner,
LM Studio.
Light LLM on progress, and LM Studio.
Yeah. So various ones. And we also have a bridge to a library called Transformers PHP. Transformers PHP is, I told you about ORT that brings it to native inference in PHP. With Transformers PHP, there is a crazy genius project where they use foreign function interface to do it already. So if your model is smaller than 2 gigabytes, you can basically already do it. And with Transformers PHP, execute the model in PHP, in C. Yeah. That's great.
I see another question here for Oscar, and then at the very bottom of the room.
I just want to mention that we have this examples folder in the Symfony AI mono repo, which is super helpful, where you can basically add all your credentials, OpenAI keys, and what keys you have, and then try out all the features like streaming, like structured output, and all the Transformers PHP, Docker Model Runner we have in place, and Ollama as well. So.
Yeah, that's a great starting point.
Yeah, here.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering if there is a way to add some human in the loop with the tool, so that it's required that the AI asks permission to execute the tool.
So we do have an event system that also dispatches an event before we call the tool. So in between the agent or the language model coming back before we call it. So you could do that to bring basically in whatever you want as logic there. I'm not sure how easy it is to even bring that to surface again. That might be tricky, but the good thing is with those workflows you can basically pause them, right? It's not like it's timely critical. You just have that context that is the state of the execution, and you can just put it somewhere and continue tomorrow, right? So that should be possible, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.